Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Time to Calibrate podcast. I'm joined by co-hosts Brent Robillard and Marc Levesque. My name's Bob, and today we have a really special guest that's actually here with me in studio, all the way from Norway, founder and CEO of Micromilspec Watches, Henrik Rye. How's it going, Henrik?
Hi, guys. Amazing.
Awesome. Good to see you. I know you've been busy the last few days with shows and all kinds of flights and stuff, but as required with any watch podcast, we like to start with a wrist check. What are you wearing today, Henrik?
I've been wearing the Milgraph.
The Milgraph.
And it's been serving its purpose. So I've actually been able to keep track at home.
Yeah.
For the first time. I usually work in Europe, so you don't really have that problem. But going to the US, a little bit jet lag. I got no idea. I can't even do the math. So yeah.
Nice to have that little reminder on wrist. And yeah, that's a really cool watch for sure. Brent, how about you?
Actually, because I knew we would be discussing military watches a lot today, I decided to wear one that's also kind of military inspired. This is the from Oleg and Weiss, and it is actually a reissue, not a faithful reissue, kind of a modern take on a watch that they made back in 1969. I think it's called the MK102, and it's an interesting watch that was issued during Vietnam, actually.
Is that a Norwegian brand too?
No, actually, they're from Zurich originally.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But you said faithful reissue. Is it an unfaithful reissue? What's the... Help me out here.
The watch has only had one wife.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I see your problem. Right.
You know, some people always, they look at it and they say, okay, well, it's got to be exactly that way. The lugs have to appear like this. But Oleg and Weiss, they use a sort of a more modern case. They call it, I think, their M case, which it looks a little bit like a skin diver. So even though the dial is fairly faithful, the bezel is a little bit different and the case itself is different. And of course, now the water resistance is bumped to 300 meters. So one can say vintage inspired, but it certainly isn't an overall vintage look.
What about you, Marc?
While we were in New York at Intersect last weekend, Notice Watch has lent us the new Obscura 2, which is a really cool watch. They had partnered with Beers and Cameras, I think, or something like that, a group, to make the original Obscura. This one has a few changes, improvements, I guess. It's really cool. I have no idea what the bezel is for. It says here exposure, gauge, and shutter speed. So we're going to be writing the review. Brent is going to describe the bezel and how it functions because I have no clue. And then Brent's going to take some photos of it and put it all up in on the calibrated wrist. So that's what I've got on wrist.
Sweet.
It's very well made. I reviewed the Sector Deep a couple of years ago, and you can see the improvements that Notice has gone through over the last couple of years. This incremental improvements, and they're very impressive. Very happy with it.
Yeah, very cool.
So I have a watch on that, and Henrik was kind of surprised to see it on my wrist, but I have a few Micromilspec pieces here and for the shows that we do, the meetups that we do, our monthly meetups. And a few of them have been collected from different reviewers and that had them, that they've been out and sort of scattered around North America, some of these watches. But one of the watches I have is the field testing unit, and I found out that this is actually one of the original 30 that were sent out to be tested back in the day.
Very cool.
And so Henrik was surprised to see this on my wrist. It's a prototype. The production models are slightly different, but that is what's on wrist. So
side note.
Yes.
We don't even have that in our office back in Norway. I haven't seen it in 2 years.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Here you are rocking him out.
He might be stealing this off my wrist by the time he goes back to Norway.
If it's really his, is it really stealing?
Yeah, that's true. So we like to start off with a little profile on our guests for listeners. Henrik co-founded Micromilspec back in 2019, originally specializing in highly custom mechanical timepieces designed for military units, first responders, other professional users. Under his leadership, Micromilspec has designed watches for elite units such as the Royal Norwegian Air Force and other specialist groups, and more recently expanded into limited civilian editions for collectors. Henrik left the corporate finance world to pursue something more creative And there's usually something that happens that creates that shift for someone. Henrik, I've read that shift for you occurred during an earthquake in Japan and its aftermath. Can you tell us a little bit about how that led to Micromilspec and maybe a little bit about that specific situation?
Yeah, wow. No, you're right. I went skiing with my dad. It was something we've been looking forward to for like many years, something you never get to do. And he left his job, so he had a little bit time, extra time on his hand, and we went to Japan to experience the slopes together. And we had an amazing time in Niseko. We went to Tokyo. He was going to study karate for a month, and I was about to head home. And then we left for the airport, got to our hotel, and I was a little bit surprised that I could hear the tube making so much noise, and it surprised me that I'm at the 26th floor, so there's not supposed to be a train or a tube or a tram or nothing making any vibrations whatsoever up at this height. So we came to the quick conclusion that when the building started to move, that this was most certainly an earthquake. So the door popped open at our hotel room, like floor panels were going everywhere. People were, screaming, and we went for the emergency exit, got down safely, 26 floors, and got the Japanese way that you're not supposed to go outside. While from an American, no, not American, I've been here so long now, I'm starting to identify with for Norwegians, like we got mountains, fjords, where nothing moves if it's not supposed to move. So we thought we're going to get out of the building, get to a safe place, and then always stay inside. And that's what we did. So we slept on the floor, and a couple of days later I was back home. Was supposed to go to my then finance job, and I heard somebody having an argument next to the fridge who left the butter out. I can't do this. I can't do this. So that was my last day.
Really?
Yeah.
You quit right then and there.
I quit.
Holy cow. Wow, that was
The
quite
perspective hit me.
Yeah.
Yeah, talk about perspective. Earthquake can provide. Was there a specific watch or experience or a person early in life that planted the seed that you'd eventually be or do Micromilspec and be into watches?
Yes, ironically, I saw an open heart of a fossil back, I think I was maybe 14 years old, and the person that showed me this fossil, he actually worked in the military, and I ended up doing a watch for them without knowing it afterwards. And now I employed someone from Watches of Switzerland in London to help us out doing like the concierge service from Norway, and it turns out that was his daughter.
Wow.
So I mean, it all came together nicely. But that was my first watch experience that I can remember, like seeing that mechanics ticks, and it looks so stressed when you look into an open heart, but still not, So I got really fascinated about how that sort of plays together and the whole movement.
Cool.
Fantastic. Now, I'm sure, like many brand owners, you are rightfully proud to wear your own watches in public, but what does your personal collection look like today, and what do you wear when it's not Micromilspec?
So I don't own any watches, to be completely transparent and open. No.
All right, end the podcast.
Yeah.
Is he even allowed to be here? I mean,
I know I'm supposed to have an answer to this, but it's been like I live to complete the collection for Micromilspec, and I think about it every waking hour of the day, and that's going to be my collection, and I feel I can't really move beyond that until I've been able to fulfill it. And then and obviously when I go to these shows, like, I enjoy watches from other brands like they were my own. It gives me great joy just to see the creativity that people are able to put into such a small space, 42 millimeters or 40 millimeters, and the dials being even smaller, and these details. Like, it's just baffling how much you can actually change, maintain, and just present something new to the market. It's I love that.
Yeah, I was going to be about to ask you that if doing all these shows, like the one we were at New York together, were you ever tempted by another brand, something that you saw that blew you away and you almost added to your collection?
Yes. I'm bad with names, but I met a guy from, I think it was from Trafford
Oh yeah.
Watches, yeah. And he had this dial that was just mesmerizing. And I asked him, like, did you do this on your own? And he's like, yeah, this is my. It has so many layers, so many different nuances to his timepiece. So yeah, and I went to this to Time and Tide, and they also had like an amazing collection, variety of watches, completely different from each other. So I would definitely see myself being able to put watches in my collection when I feel that all of my emotions and waking hours is not about completing the one for Micromilspec.
Very cool.
Cool.
Yeah, so you came from a background in finance, as Bob pointing out, and not having a traditional watchmaking background. How did you educate yourself on the craft and the industry, and what are the biggest surprises along the way?
So my first hands-on experience with watches after being 14 years old.
After the fossil?
I moved, so I live in Oslo, Norway, and me and my wife, we moved to Sagene, which is an old part of the town, like cobblestone streets, brick buildings. It's a proper old part. And next to where I was living, there opened up a watch store, 150 meters or so from there. And you guys know, watch enthusiasts, being men, like, we love to get together and talk about this stuff. So it became a social hub essentially for the local community. And I came inside the door, asked him, like, so there's 60 seconds in a minute, regardless. Why a Patek or why not a Casio? Like, it's $150,000, it's $10 or whatever. Like, can you please enlighten me on this, the philosophy here? And I just have this insane curiosity of getting to a point where you can feel that there is an objective truth about something, and that does not apply to watches whatsoever. So that really sparked my journey into this, and I spent a lot of time with this watchmaker. And our co-founder came into the store. He wanted to, or now co-founder, then he was just a dude from the military. He came into the store, wanted to do a custom timepiece for his unit. The expensive brands wasn't obtainable. Not enough people were willing to give up their wallet for something like that. The cheap ones didn't cut it. And I asked him, what do you want to do? And 2 weeks later, we did 400 watches for a Norwegian unit. And it's been like that every month ever since. Like, we've just been, it's been a vacuum in the market for custom watches for military units. So that really got me back into the space. And I think what surprised me the most is the difference between Europe and America in terms of the watch communities and groups. Because obviously I've just seen and learned and from these discussions, like, I've been a complete outsider from the watch industry. I came into this because people asked me to create watches for them, like the military units, and I just happened to be there. The company is not named Henrik Rye because I think I'm a great designer that's going to make something that everybody loves. I've been so lucky that people come to me and tell me what they actually really enjoy and would like to see, and I've been able to facilitate it and bring that to the market. But going to seeing the people now in the US, it's just like such a friendly group of people. The same goes for Europe, but there you have, it's very CEO driven, a lot of these companies. So I don't know that many watch people in Europe, but I now have a lot of friends from the Swiss industry, but that's not because of watches. It's just because they're just genuinely great people, and some of them happen to be CEOs of, you know, major companies. But first and foremost, they're just like, you know, the rest of us, you know.
If
When you guys founded Micromilspec, you guys obviously went in the direction of custom watches for the military units and other types of units like that, first responders. Did you ever plan to release eventually watches to the public like you're now starting to do?
That's a good question. Like, we obviously, you always try to evaluate the business side of things. What is the longevity of what you're doing today in the future? It was a really hard nut for us to crack, and we didn't plan it because we didn't know how to do it. We wanted to have something to offer the public, but we knew that we couldn't offer custom pieces that we made for military units because you get the list, they have to approve it. Nobody else is able to buy it. But then we started to have a couple of projects where for specialized units, smaller units, and we said to them, like, it's like 25 people, a custom timepiece. We're not able to do this, but we would love to help you guys out. But then we need to invite collectors to support the rest of the production so that we can get you 25 pieces. But then you sort of have to be willing that there's 50 pieces out in the market, not for a unit. So then we just took off like official badges and so forth that collectors either way are not supposed to, you don't want the name of another guy from the military on your timepiece. We did minor tweaks here. And that started to create the bridge for us towards the civilian market. But still, we didn't have that clear strategy on what eventually became the Millgraph. That was not a plan. It was not something we, strategically released for the purpose of becoming a civilian brand. No.
As Bob mentioned, you've made bespoke pieces for elite military units, first responders, and more. What's the collaboration process like, and how much creative freedom do they have when they're working with you, the military units and the first responders?
The process is usually you have one enthusiast within a group that is just like us, love watches and want to do something to create that unity feeling, that comradeship. And they typically have, depend on obviously if it's a pilot unit or an aerial thing, then it's sort of quite set because there's already a design language for that. But we usually end up asking, what's the one thing that everybody in your unit would immediately recognize that I necessarily wouldn't know anything about? And that could be anything from the sole of the shoe, because they're actively in the desert. So everybody knows the shoe prints of the people in front of you when you walk. And I could never come up with something like that, designing a timepiece for them. And they recognize it immediately. So we try to have we have a process where we collect information about culture, history, obviously the symbols, and then try to understand there's their how they operate, and then finding that one shared design language that they all feel they can stand behind. Sometimes it's really obvious, and sometimes it's a longer process, but we're a one-stop shop. We do everything for them, the sampling, we offer, split payment plans, we do all like logistics, the customer care, sending out the products to them. Obviously it's and we started the other way around. This is how we started out, so it's not something new to us. No.
Once you guys decided to go down that the road that you were originally taking, what was the first unit you actually worked with, and what was the process like to design your very first watch?
We the first one was the Royal Norwegian Air Force, but the guy that came into our door, he was from the Special Operation Forces in Norway.
Okay.
But he had two projects with him. So the one that we really started out with was for the Royal Norwegian Air Force.
Okay.
And we thought that we could make a 2D drawing, send it over, and be a part of their sort of like the not the tender, but they had a process where they were working with numerous other brands.
Mm-hmm.
We were like, this is going to be a winner. We didn't hear back from them. So you're like, why? What happened here? So then we picked up the phone and we said, we really want to meet you guys. We ended up at the captain's home with a carrot cake and a 1-to-1 size printout of the cockpit of the bird, as they call it.
Yeah.
And that's how we understood how important these minor details, how that means the world to these people. So we ended up having the torque display, which is the red, green, yellow. It's the torque display gives you the speed of the engine, essentially, of the rotors of the helicopter. And they wanted to have that on board or on the watch because they don't need to look at it because they feel it in the stick.
Yes.
That's why it was so important to them to get on the timepiece.
Wow.
So we started out like this, and then it's been basically the same. Like, you really need to talk to these people and not try to do the work for them. Let them come to you with what they want to see and tread the water carefully. You don't want to put, they're the tastemakers.
Yeah.
Not you.
Yeah. That's awesome, man.
Of all the bespoke pieces and projects that you've been a part of up to this point, is there one that stands out as a personal favorite, either because of the end product or because of the process and the stories that you learned along the way?
So the millgraph we made for the Special Forces, and that's become, what it is. But other than that, I would also have to say the first project, because it means a lot to us as a company. It created our DNA. It still carries the same design language on the wrist. So the one that you actually have on your wrist here, the original one, that's the same case that they have.
Oh, okay.
So I would say, maybe and they were, ironically, that was when our co-founder walked through that door. We did the one for the Royal Norwegian Air Force, and we did the one for the Special Operation Forces. The Special Operation Forces timepiece is what we ended up releasing at Geneva Watch Days as our first civilian offering. So I think it will be those projects for sure. It completes the circle.
Great. When you're working with some of these units, are they usually pretty hands-on with the design process? And do they often come with technical demands, or is it usually more about like symbolism and identity, the boots, tread, that sort of thing?
It's first and foremost a extension of their uniform. That's their approach.
Okay.
Watch enthusiasts obviously care more about the technical specs and complications than the ones that are not watch enthusiasts. But the most important part when you work with a unit is that everybody's able to get their hands on one, so you can't make a product that is not obtainable for the rest of them. And that's been a real big part of our success sort of ingredient, because we make a Swiss-made product at a quality level and a price point that you can't really compete with when you go on the volume that you do with these military units. So they don't really have any compromise when it comes to quality. They just have a custom-made timepiece that is really well manufactured, and it's obtainable.
Awesome.
Now I'm on record for saying that the Milgraph is my favorite model. I saw it the first time in Toronto 2 years ago for the Toronto Timepiece Show, and it was fabulous. I wrote about it for Warner Wound on one of their quick releases, and I chose it as my favorite watch of the year for 2024 at the time. So I love it. I saw the white one last weekend in person. It's spectacular.
Where did you see that? Sorry. Where did you see the white one? I'm trying to find it.
Yeah. I did not take it.
That's funny.
That was at Intersect. So how has it become something of a flagship for the brand? What inspired that model? I think you mentioned a little bit about it just now.
Yeah.
And how does it encapsulate the Micromilspec identity?
So it comes from the utility first perspective. And it has a swapped crown position because we originally had a right crown position on it. But they came back and said it needs to be a swapped crown position because we don't want to have any wrist injuries. When we swapped the crown position, it was also obvious that your thumb, being your strongest finger, is a much better way of operating a chrono or the chronograph pushers when you actually wear it on your left wrist. They wanted to have indents on the bezel, so that became a quad grip bezel, and you're able to operate it with a glove. So that was also one of their specs. In terms of other sort of details, so if your crown is unscrewed just a little bit, there's a red ring in it, so that you can immediately see that you have to screw your crown back in. So you really try to optimize all of the aspects, both in for functionality, but what can also go wrong when you wear a timepiece in the field. And titanium grade 5 is a superior material for this type of a timepiece, both because of the weight of the movement that goes inside of it. So now it feels like a proper quality timepiece. The finishing that we chose on the Milgraph is a microblasted finish that took us a year to get right. So it's not a coating on it. It's just from the microblasting, it creates small like dents of shadow that creates the matte look on your timepiece. And then obviously the water resistant that we were able to get up to 200 meters, and this being a chronograph with the GMT functionality, this is all them. Their watch looks different, but it's the same in terms of the specs, but they have some other stuff in there that that's not on record.
Yeah, it's I still love it. At some point I got to make one mine. Maybe the next show that white one will disappear.
He's got a briefcase. He's got a briefcase full of watches over here. Maybe I grab
one
them
fall off
and
the back of the truck. Yeah. So with choices like grade 5 titanium, which you just mentioned now, and mechanical only movements and a GMT chronograph functionality, how do you balance form versus function in watches that must survive real missions? It's all about function, I guess.
Yeah.
And the form just comes afterwards.
It is like you could get more specs in, but then it wouldn't be something that we could deliver and stand behind in terms of like the watch would be too thick, for example. It needs to be comfortable on the wrist, but functionality comes first. And then if we are not able to accommodate that in the design and in the quality, it's a no-go. So it's always the first priority for sure.
Cool. So working with these units like you have, do you and the team ever get out in the field with them? If so, any highlights you could share with us?
They call it, what do they call it? Not spotter pointers. I can't remember. Like we were hostages.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Tell us a little bit about that.
What I tell you, I know nothing. You get blindfolded, tied up.
Yeah. He put a bag on his head, put him on the back of a truck, tied him to a chair.
Yeah.
Started playing with his fingernails, and somehow these guys got watches.
Yeah, they love that stuff. Took us up, flying a helicopter, put us up in the, not on top of a mountain, but next to a mountain, pretending they had to leave because of an emergency event coming on. When we're out there with photo gear and everything. Yeah, we do.
So, when it comes to the civilian releases, was that really brought on by the demand from collectors pushing you in that direction, or
no? It came to as mentioned, we did the little bridge from the custom watches for the military, and then we had collectors coming in, and we invited them to join the project.
Mm-hmm.
When this started, we also started to have walk-ins in our design studio in Oslo, and they asked for the field testing unit, because they heard that we gave 30 of them to the military to test out, and if you haven't seen it, it's stripped of any decorations. You can still turn a vessel, but there's nothing on it. There's nothing on the crown. There's nothing on the case back. It only has a small text on 12, which says Sinca 12. And on the left-hand side, you have the specs of the watch, the movement, the serial number, the water resistant. And they're supposed to take a picture of this watch at 12, send it to us. So we knew how it was performing in the field. And collectors got to know about this piece. And they came walking by, like, can I get this? And I, no, you can't. Why not? Well, first of all, it's a prototype. It's not the product that we have. And then this started to, we have occurring events of this. And then at some point I gave in and I said, all right, $1,700. I'll take it. Now, okay, so there's something here. And as I mentioned, I've been a complete outsider. So I didn't know about this part of the industry with collectors, because my entry here has been military units wanting to have custom watches. So that was my first interaction with the watch community. And then it became like a challenge. So you guys, you're working with the military, but really what can you do? Like, show us what type of a product can you release to the market if you're done for the custom projects. Worked with 4,000, we have 4,000 active military personnel wearing our watches. So give me your best shot. And that challenge really spiked me and intrigued me to develop something that I wanted to impress the watch industry with. And that became the millograph that I released on Geneva Watch Days in 2024. And to be completely frank and honest, I took a loan on my house to pay for my entry ticket to Geneva Watch Days.
Wow.
Because I believed so much in this timepiece and the offering that we were finally getting out there.
That's an interesting story. When we were talking to Andrew McCutcheon not too long ago, he said, there's a big difference between independent watchmakers. And he said, there's some that are just all in. And that's just about as all in as one can get. That's a great story.
I'm all in. Yeah.
And now he's wondering if he can stay with me for a few months.
Yeah.
Keep an eye on the silverware, Bob. I don't know. So Micromilspec, it began obviously as the military purveyor. It's now moved, of course, into direct-to-consumer sales. But now you've even got like ADs all over the world. Like I think I counted 9. You've got Europe and Asia. You've got North America. A friend of ours, Sam at Gem Bijou. How do you select an appropriate retail partner? Like, what's that process look like to you?
Well, so 2024 was really the moment that we opened up for the industry, and then we got quite a good sort of reception from people that I always looked up to over the years. So I really wanted to accommodate having some of our watches. But as it stands now, we are where we're at with retail is where we're gonna be with retail. We have no chance of expanding with new retailers. There's no strategy. We just want to maintain the ones that we have on board now. Like, we released the Millograph in January. We do all of our models once a year. We did 150 pieces, and it was sold out before release. So the next one is in 2027. So we're in a place now where retail is, we don't want to disappoint them. So we're going to keep them happy, but it's not something we're going to expand on, if that answers your question.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you've kept annual production numbers very low. Is that intentional exclusivity, or is it practicality, or both? And how do you decide what to make and how many?
Well, it's intentional in the way that if you set up a watch company and your goal is so that everyone that walks in through the door is going to be able to walk out of that door with a watch on your hand, you suddenly turn it into a volume game. And that's going to affect all of the decisions that you do as a brand, because then you have to increase them, or your marketing, your cash flow, your profit. And I really don't appreciate that model when the product is first and foremost, and your brand is the number one thing that keeps people walking in the door.
So if demand grows rapidly and it looks like it's headed that way, how do you plan to scale without losing the craftsmanship and the ethos that define Micromilspec?
It's defined by itself. It's not it's not, you can't scale in this business like you do in the tech industry. It's not doable. Like, I make an order with Le Duperret in Switzerland, whatever the size of that is, then I'm not going to do double that. I'm not going to do that 3 times a year. You just, we do this because we love the watches that we have. And obviously it's a very, how would you say, it's flattering when people love what you're doing, but there's nothing more unsexy of a company that is out there trying to label itself as the fastest growing watch company in the world. I've seen it so many times online, and they have ads yelling out about what they're doing, what's coming out next, and so on. And we have a lot of enthusiasts buying into the products and loving what we're doing. We don't have any guarantee that that's going to be growing indefinitely. So we want to maintain the customer relationships that we have, and also, like, when we have signups on our website, we maybe have probably like 100 people a week coming to us, leaving their contact details, and we speak to each and every one of those, setting up an email, inviting them to have a call. We really want to know why they're interested in buying a timepiece. Is it for a special occasion? And that always happened to be the case. There's nobody that replies to us like, I didn't have anything to do, so I just want to buy a timepiece. There's always a reason for it. So, that's the driving factors behind setting our volumes, what we're releasing to the market, and how we really manage our company.
Yeah. So Micromilspec watches are very tool oriented. We've gone over the whole military and function versus form. How do you avoid making watches that feel too utilitarian and still appeal to enthusiasts who like style as well as durability?
So we've right now, our DNA is set in terms of when we release a new Micromilspec, you're gonna see that it's a Micromilspec, and I believe in that the design language that we have, and I think it's important for customers that you have that predictability. That next year I'm not gonna release a pink watch with diamonds on it, you know, because that sort of speaks to the longevity of your brand and what you can expect of maintaining the price and the value of your product. So I think that work was already done before we came to market and released our products through being refined, working with all of this, the military unit. So we're going to maintain our design language. We got a lot of requests for specs that we are developing, and that's going to be our new models. It's going to be different in functionality, essentially, but maintain the same ethos.
So now that you guys are leaning more into like the collector releases, releasing watches to the public, do you still work with as many military units, or is that something that's not happening as much nowadays?
We do. But they're also moving on the new product platform that we have, because it's getting like a name in it and a following of itself. So a lot of the new units that we've been speaking with, they want to do a custom dual timer, for example. So we deliberately made the dial of the dual timer so that we can customize it. If you look at the mill graph, it got a really grainy, bumpy texture to the dial, and that can't be customized whatsoever. So then you have to do a new dial production for it. So we have a couple that are from scratch, but we do see them trending towards that the core product is already made, you know, in the DNA of the military. So they appreciate that and want to become a part of our brand and the existing offering.
Cool.
So last weekend we met at Intersect New York City, and the brand has been part of the Toronto Timepiece Show in the past, and you attend many others. And in fact, most independent brand owners I know have schedules that like rival rock groups on tour. So how do you manage a brand and keep up with all of these engagements?
So Intersect was my first watch show ever. I've done Geneva Watch Days 2 times now, and I've been deliberately keeping in the background, because if you walk out there as a founder and people end up buying products because it's the founder being there, you don't necessarily have a viable platform and a product offering that the industry and the market actually appreciate. And it comes also a little bit of an ingredient in that I'm not too fan of crowds and I'm an introvert. But it's been you know, as I said, I came into watches because the military unit wanted these watches. It was never because I was going to make a company named Henrik Rye and become a great designer, because I'm not, you know. So it's been a humbling transition getting into knowing the collectors and the community, but and I was scared of it, to be honest, because I thought you're gonna get all of, like, they're gonna drill you, you're gonna get all of the hard questions, they're gonna be disappointed about, you know, this is not good enough. So I had you know, a fair amount of anxiety around that. But now that I'm stepping out of my cocoon, I'm really enjoying it. It's just the best bunch of guys and friends that I've ever met. They're all so friendly. So managing that that calendar, it's the hard part is when you're out and about and maintaining the relationship with your team at home. But also because I've been sort of hands off from these events, I've also created a team that are able to travel out, take care of, their traveling, their schedules, and so on. So it's become a parallel sort of key ingredient that the team is extremely capable without me being part of the mix.
That's great. Now, of course, what the public sees from the outside is sort of the glamorous side of watchmaking. It sees the product, it sees the unique design, and it's the end of a very long creative process. However, watchmaking also has the daily grind, like anything else.
Yes.
Sourcing, logistics, customer service, all of these things. For you, what's been sort of the steepest learning curve there, or perhaps the most daunting task in all of that?
Delays, for sure. And when you work at this level of quality, you sort of, you put back so many processes that are not up to standard, and there's no shortcuts. And even though you plan that everything is going according to plan, and we have fail safes all over the place, you just need time. You need more time to create the products, real good quality products. I think that's the number one thing that's been challenging, obviously. And then, so when we started out in 2019 and up until this point, like, you had regional wars, you've had COVID, you had inflations, you had currency fluctuations that has just been out of this world. I don't think there's a part in history since maybe World War II where the world has been a tougher place to start a business. So obviously that's impacted a lot of our supply chain and a lot of the decisions that have been made and processes that we've started out. So I do think, like, the watch companies that you see around now, it's quite a resilient gathering of people behind these companies. It's tough out there. It's insanely hard.
So I think the way that I got introduced to Micromilspec, and I think a lot of people, there was a few articles about the watch I'm wearing right now, the field testing unit, when you guys were first doing that program with the original 30 watches. For people that aren't familiar with that, can you maybe describe what that was all about, the field testing unit project? And just wondering if you, when it comes to the results of that, did you have any results maybe you didn't want to hear afterwards?
No. No, so it really comes back to the same thing. Like, we were not sure that we were going to be good enough, so we made 30 prototypes for us to test in the field so that we can adjust on whatever movements that didn't work or perform, the bezel functionality, the crown guard, water resistant, all of this. But the irony is that we sent out 30 and none of them came back. So we got feedback, but we never got the hands-on experience again with the watches. But what you see in the next generation of the cases that we've done, that's really based on the feedback. So you have a 200-meter water resistant, you have a 120 click bezel system on them, you have a new crown guard there, and obviously going towards titanium was a big part of that. Like, the material is superior in the chronograph field, and so that was the natural evolution, I think, from that program.
Cool.
Your earliest collaboration we mentioned already was the Royal Norwegian Air Force. And of course, that was the pilot watch. But actually, I think it wasn't until last year that you finally added it into your annual collection for the first time. So now you kind of cater to that land, sea, air, those three broad categories. Within those categories, what creative releases might we expect to see moving forward? What are you working on right now?
I am working on a field watch. So millgraph is the chronograph, and I'm working on the little brother to the millgraph. And if I was not insecure before, this follow-up is something.
Awesome.
Yeah. But obviously we're also going towards divers. But that's not going to be until 2027 at the earliest. Yeah. And we have an off catalog section as well. That's been but that's not for public release.
If it wasn't, you wouldn't have brought it up.
You have to cut that out then.
What trend in watches right now has you most excited, and what trend are you most cautious about?
I'm always
pink dials and diamonds.
Yeah, well, yeah. No, I'm always cautious about new materials, to be honest. Because like you had this one, you had a trend back in the days towards what is it, some sort of plastic composite thing, and then suddenly, you had brands selling that for $15,000-$20,000 as a new performance.
That's right.
Are you okay there, Marc?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, and then suddenly somebody else comes in, undercut the markets with the exact same thing, and you're just taking with your pants down for doing something rubbish. So, new materials is something I would always be very careful about. What really gets me excited, but that's more from a personal level. I've been drawn towards the jumping hour complications, because when you try, it's just from a utility perspective again. Ironically, when you try to teach a kid how to read time, it takes a little bit of effort. They get it, of course, but I think I could have been able to get the jumping hour within a couple of seconds. It makes much more sense, but I haven't been able to decipher that in the Micromilspec sphere, because I also too think that's it's a trend right now, so I would like to see it becoming much more firm. But there is a utility spectrum here, specters, that I do really appreciate, but I'm not sure how to sort of proceed with it, but for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. In an age of smartwatches and digital tech, in your opinion, why do mechanical tool watches still matter? And is Micromilspec considering going digital? I mean, most militaries and army people and first responders, you normally wear G-Shocks.
Yeah, no, a very good question. So the guys that I just mentioned previously, and our co-founder, he is not allowed to wear his watch to work. So because if they're digital in any way or shape or form, they're traceable. You can't wear that on a briefing room or in an operative type of situation. That's a no-go. So you have to have that.
Yeah, you're talking smartwatches, right?
Yeah, no, any of them. Like in the briefing room, you're not allowed to wear a watch unless it's proven without any batteries, like cords, like nothing.
Okay.
It's no-go. So then you obviously have that aspect coming towards then the mechanical stuff of it. The automatic has an authentic place on the field, and also with a certain type of groups and operators. But when it comes to the smartwatch of it, I haven't really made up my mind, because I see it's a great product. A lot of people enjoy the smartwatch for like pure health reasons and so forth. But some of them also wear a ring for the same purpose, and and you also see them, a lot of them getting fed up with their products not working anymore because it gets obsolete. So I have sort of no insight into how this is going to be in the future, but I do see that there is a lot of friction points in that type of an offering in the market for sure.
Cool. So I was curious, with the Olympics that just passed, the Winter Olympics, it's always popular to watch for our country and yours too. And you guys ended up topping the medal count,
of course,
when it was over Norway. But I was wondering if you guys ever work with non-military or first responder units. Have you ever been approached by anyone like a sports team for custom work or those type of things?
So the thing is, like in Norway, obviously we have free healthcare, free schools, dental and all that. So we have nothing to do. We're just out and about skiing. If you break our leg, fix it immediately. I know you have the same in Canada, but you guys are not bored. We're so bored, so it's easier for us to do the snow stuff. But no, like, obviously, Erling Haaland, the footballer, we made a custom piece for him. And then no other personalities than that. And we haven't set our sort of sight on the ambassador game as of right now. We're really about our core collection and getting the fundamentals right. So no, we haven't taken that huge step on. No.
Cool. Now we know why the Norwegians are so good in the Olympics.
Yeah, I guess they're bored.
They're bored. They're so bored,
and they like their small stuff.
And it's a small country.
What's the broader mission of Micromilspec beyond selling watches? What mark do you want the brand to leave?
The reference point for modern field watches. That's it. Like, reference point for professional watches, like the modern ones, for sure.
So that new field watch better be good, right?
Yeah, exactly. No pressure.
No pressure. If it's like the Milgraph, it should do really well. I'm very excited about that one, and even more excited about the dive watch.
Thank you.
So for entrepreneurs listening who want to break into passionate hobby like ours and a community like watches, what's the biggest piece of advice you can give?
Well, my biggest piece of advice would first and foremost be towards where. So if you're in US, what I've noticed is that a lot of the American brands are made by Americans and also mostly for Americans. They start out with a design that they think is great, their friends love it, and then they get traction, expand, and they have this really good thing going on. I mean, if that's you, I would absolutely pursue something a very low barrier, finding your own design language and offering without breaking the bank, because it's not about that whatsoever. If you're coming from a European perspective, having the Swiss industry owning the entire sort of offering and the stamp of approval, you could go out without the Swiss made thing, but I think that's going to be tough. I think it's going to be really, really tough. And if you decide to go this the Swiss made way, it's going to getting like the contacts, the people, getting to these, you would hopefully end up at the dinner with some relevant people next year. It's going to take time. But I mean, if you're willing to really do that, enjoy that, and I would recommend that route. If not, I would just do it as a pure hobby.
Yes.
Cool. So how about a little lightning round? Fast questions.
Fast questions.
Favorite complication?
GMT.
Good.
Watch you admire but don't own?
Rolex Daytona.
Okay. Watch you think is underrated? It can't be the Daytona.
Daytona. No. No, that's easy. Young Guns.
Oh,
Young Guns, yeah. They just came out with a dive watch, and it looks pretty neat. I can't wait to see it in person. And we didn't talk about this before, but have you ever considered collaborations with other brands? Is there a dream collaborator out there you'd love to work with?
Absolutely. And it's gonna happen for my field watch.
Oh.
So
So
So you're not going to say who it is you?
not yet. No.
Okay, well, other than them, is there another one you would like to collaborate with at some point?
if you say Isotope, you get $20. Just so you know.
Okay, each time Isotope.
Yeah. That'll barely pay for for staying at Bob's house.
Yeah, no, I mean, yes, but as like I love so many different brands out there that I would be open to do plenty of collaborations, to be honest.
What did you guys think of Seal Instruments Micromilspec collab?
Cool.
Me.
I mean,
That would be cool.
That would be very cool. Talk about badass.
All right. Well, we have a thing to get to. There's an event tonight in Toronto, Micromilspec. There's going to be a bunch of cool cars, cool watches, cool people. So we got to wrap it up a little sooner than normal here today, but just wanted to thank you for coming on, Henrik. Really appreciate the chat and had a lot of fun.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, good to see you again.
Yeah, nice seeing you again.
The Time to Calibrate podcast is released every 2 weeks and is available wherever you listen to podcasts. If you'd like to contact us, we are at Time to Calibrate on Instagram, and you can always email us at timetocalibrate@gmail.com. Should you want to continue this conversation and join many others, check our show notes for a link to our Discord community. We'd love to see you there. Until the next one, T2C out.
Hold on. Stop the music. We've got a special guest in, Matt Smith-Johnston, a.k.a. Teenage Grandpa.
Hello.
Hey, Matt. Thanks for joining us on the show. We're adding this in at the end of the show to introduce a new collaboration with Isotope that Teenage Grandpa has helped design. How about you talk a little bit about yourself there, Matt? Maybe introduce the new watch.
Oh, yeah. Hey, so, yeah, I'm a watch designer based in Scarborough, Ontario, Canada. And, yeah, I've been in the watch space for, over a decade now, maybe 13 years plus. You know, I've come from a background of graphic design. That's what I went to school for. And, you know, when I entered the field, I've done quite a lot of different things. I've done broadcast design and animation and retail design and industrial design. And, you know, at some point I decided to try and merge my passion for design with something I really, really love and I've always cared about, which is watches. So, you know, way back in the day, I started one of the first, I think at the time I was the only strap seller on Etsy, way back. And that's where the Teenage Grandpa came from. And I just, I kind of like that as a, you know, a alias for my watch related activities.
Sure. Old soul.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. It came from a silly place. I actually saw that somewhere. And it made me laugh, and it wasn't anything serious, but I thought, oh, like, I like the idea, this juxtaposition of the idea of like something very old and something new, because, you know, I was like, well, I want to bring this like kind of like young spirited aesthetic, you know, even though I'm like middle-aged man now, I still feel kind of like a punk rock teenager at heart. And I want to bring that into, you know, this very traditional space, which is watchmaking. And, you know, I came to know Jose. I met him, maybe 5 years ago at this point. And, you know, just liked his work and he was very friendly. And, you know, in 2024, I guess is when he first started showing up at events with the Moonshot prototypes. And, man, I loved that chronograph. I was like just floored by it. It was exactly the kind of thing that appealed to me. And, it's something that I had no part in designing that base model, but I was like, no, this is the kind of thing that I would this is where my brain is at. And I loved it. I love chronographs. I loved it. I loved the proportions. Really stuck with me. So anytime I, bump into Jose, I'd be like, hey, let me just play with that little moonshot for a while. And then, so anyways, I think it was at the Toronto Time event, not the one that just passed, but maybe the 1 year prior, when it was one of the events. Anyhow, he came to me and said, hey, would you like to do a moonshot collaboration with me? And I was like, oh my God, of course I'd love to do this. This is my favorite watch out right now. And then he was like, yeah, I was thinking about doing a telemeter. And here's the other thing, he didn't know, but I have always wanted to do a telemeter. And I pitched a telemeter to someone else early in my days of doing watch design. It didn't go through, but I just had this idea stuck in my head of how a telemeter should be. And to get to apply that kind of idea that's been rattling around in my skull for however long to what has essentially been my favorite chronograph released in the last couple of years, I was like, oh, this is just perfect.
Yeah, maybe for the listeners who might not know, can you describe what a telemeter is and what it does?
So a telemeter is like, it's on your chronograph function, instead of having like the tachymeter for calculating speed, you have a thing where quite simply, if you see a flash of lightning or something that produces a sound, as soon as you see the event, you would hit start on your chronograph. And once you hear the event, you hit stop, and then it will show you how many kilometers away that event is, because sound travels at a, definite speed. I don't know what that speed is off the top of my the exact speed of sound off the top of my head. I don't actually know what that is, but it helps you calculate. Okay, and so like, people have used this for say in an airfield, they'd be like, well, the storm's coming, we need to get this plane up. Is it too close to get them up safely? And you see the storm and calculate. Okay, people have used it for in the military. I think there's like for munitions, if the round is when it strikes something, they can see how far away it is and calculate how far away events are, or if the front is approaching, etc. So it's a handy kind of cool thing if you need to do that. I just like, I'm kind of like heavy metal obsessed, so just like lightning in things to me, like I have a lot of albums on my in my iTunes that have featured the sound of thunder and as part of it. It's kind of, there's a lot of storm sounds in my on various playlists of mine, and I just thought it'd be so cool to like, and I even remember when I was very young, my grandfather would, we'd sit out on his like a covered porch, and we'd watch the storms come in when there was a storm, and he would count like, 1 potato, 2 potatoes.
Yeah, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, that's so that means it's approximately this far away. And so like it just for a variety of reasons. And then like we got to take this watch, and we did it in a, to describe it, it's like a titanium. It is coated so it doesn't turn the dark color right away. It's got a bit of a protective coating on it, but it is like a raw kind of titanium finish. I love titanium because it's got that extra warmth to it. Like it's just a very, very warm kind of feeling metal. It's and the moonshot is also a matte finish, kind of like a bead blasted finish on it, which really speaks, really highlights the form of this particular case. And then I got to do like this kind of dial that a lot of my stuff, because of the gray and everything, and also I think just growing up in and around Toronto, Greater Toronto area, a lot of brutalism in architecture and things. I've always thought that was cool. Like I know
concrete jungle.
The raw concrete look, and just like how forms leave markings on it. And anyways, there's a lot of things with brutalism in general that just kind of stick with me. So I think there's a bit of that in the rhythm of the dial, and then the accent color that I chose for this is like a purple. So the pushers are purple, the hands have some purple on it, and the chrono registers, which are showed, the moonshot has this unique thing where they're like discs that reveal the number. Those are also purple. Again, if you look at photographs of lightning at night, it's usually dark, and then there's the flash, and then there's
dark blue purpley.
And then this is the first one. So on the back there's like a loom lightning bolt on the case back where you can see the rotor. And this is the first watch where underneath that it actually has it's the first collaboration I've done where it says Teenage Grandpa on it. Like, I've never done that before.
Okay.
I usually try to keep my name off of things. I don't know why I do that. I just let the object speak for itself. That's kind of my mentality. But Jose was really like, no, I want you to have Teenage Grandpa on there. I want it to be, on there, the history that we did this together. And I just was like, A, very flattered that he would kind of push for that, and B, I'm very honored to do this. So I'm stoked with it.
Yeah, that lightning on the case back, that's loomed. We were at Intersect 2 weeks ago on the weekend at the show there in New York City, and I was showing the prototype to someone, and I wanted to show them the dial, the way the loom works with the ring that's stuck to the crystal.
Yeah.
So I had the little loom torch out, and I was pointing. And I asked the guy, turn the watch, because he was looking at the movement. And I go, turn the watch over. And just as he was turning, I saw the back light up. I'm like, no, turn it back. Look at that. Because I didn't know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Really
Jose, cool. when I came up with that, he's like, okay, that is pointless, but also it's very cool. He said something to that effect. I was like, yeah, it's just for fun. I like little fun Easter egg type things you can
Absolutely.
do. And yeah, as another aside, I will say I didn't intend this, but when I first saw the prototype, when I first got hands on it, the first thing I thought is, did you ever watch Dragon Ball Z?
My kids did.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's a commercial on Pluto TV, the Dragon Ball Z, so I see that all the time. Yeah.
When I was in high school, Dragon Ball Z, maybe we're too old to watch it, but a lot of people watch Dragon Ball Z just because we were listening to Wu-Tang. I don't know. Wu-Tang and Dragon Ball Z went together quite well. And there's a villain in there called Frieza. And he is, this kind of alien guy with a tail, but the colors, and he's this kind of purple and whitish silver, kind of pearlescent looking
there you go.
Alien evil being. And there's a lot of lightning attacks too, and
there you go.
Purple, and I was like, oh man, this looks like Frieza. So anyways, that's unintended kind of joyful bonus thing for me personally.
Yeah, the moonshot that we've created so far have all been DLC coated. So this is the first one that is in raw grade 5 titanium. The look is very different, and it looks fantastic. I mean, it feels amazing on the wrist. I've never been a fan of titanium because of the way it feels light. On smaller watches or thinner watches, it kind of feels like you're not wearing anything. And I'm of the age that, is it heavy? Yeah. Then it's expensive. So, I came from that world. And the cool thing about the moonshot chronograph is that it's fairly large, and the bracelet's fairly thick. So you still get the heft. It's just not as heavy as if it was in fact, if it was stainless steel, it probably would be unwearable. It'd be like 250 grams or plus, because the thickness of the bracelet, the way it tapers.
Yeah.
But because it's titanium, it's fantastic. And it just, anyways, I'm jaded. Listeners know that I work for Isotope, so I like it automatically. I was always a fan of the moonshot. I mean, I helped Jose at the Toronto Timepiece show that you were talking about.
Yeah.
I helped him at that one, the first Toronto Timepiece show. I was behind the counter with him.
Yep.
And I remember seeing the moonshots there, and I was quite impressed. And then the following spring at the first Vancouver Timepiece show, while I was helping set up the table, I grabbed one. It was already sized, so I put it on my wrist. And I spent the morning with it, and I was like, oh my God, I got to have one of these. This is incredible. Like, it's just so different and special.
Yeah.
So it's really cool that you brought your twist to the moonshot. I mean, the colorway is just phenomenal with the purples and the silvers, and it looks really great. It looks really, really good. I hope much success to you and to Jose and Isotope for it.
Well, thank you. Even though, yes, we're both coming from a very biased
yeah, I guess.
But I was a fan of this piece before I had any involvement in it. Again, it's just an honor. I'm really excited about it. And just can't wait to see what else maybe I get to do with them in the future as well.
Absolutely. This is the first. It will not be the last, I'm sure.
Let's hope.
So, Matt, thank you for joining us for this quick bonus part of our show. And we'll make sure to have you on in a future episode, probably episode 46, I believe. Yeah, 46. So
cool.
Stay tuned, listeners. Matt will come back on, and we'll ask him some more questions, and we'll put him on the hot seat.
Awesome. All right. Looking forward to it.
In a proper way. All right, Matt. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Enjoy your afternoon.
Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye now.